Welcome to the Rockabye Revenue Podcast with me, Abby Watson. I'm a mum of 4 and a business strategist, and I train people to become hypnobirthing teachers. In the last decade, I've built a thriving baby business that grew beyond my wildest dreams. This podcast is for you if you run a business or dream of running a business in the birth and baby industry. You want to change lives whilst making more money. I'm talking about creating sustainable income whilst being present for the people that matter most. I believe for our baby businesses to have the impact we desire, we must be rewarded. On this podcast, expect me to share actionable strategies without the jargon. I've been where you are. I've built a business while raising 4 little ones, and now I'm here to help you turn your passion into profit while creating the life you've always dreamed of. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to an episode of Rockabye Revenue. I'm here with Hannah today, Hannah Brown. If you are one of our Love Your Birth community members, you are likely to know Hannah because she's here supporting me and mentoring others. She's an amazing part of Love Your Birth. But it didn't always start that way. And Hannah started out as a hypnobirthing teacher quite a few years ago. And we're here today to talk about her journey, particularly in the early days when she ran her business alongside having a pretty much full-time job. So morning, Hannah. Sorry, I've just stepped on your toes there, haven't I? And I was like, when we get started, I'll get you to introduce yourself, but actually I've just done it for you. Sorry.
You've saved me a job.
Do you want to introduce yourself properly then?
Yeah, hello. Thank you for having me, Abby. It's lovely to be back again. Yeah, so I'm Hannah. I've been teaching hypnobirthing now for almost 8 years. So I always know that because when Lucy turns 8, I know that I pretty much trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher like a few months after she was born. So yeah, I teach hypnobirthing all over the world, but mainly here in West Yorkshire. So I'm actually based in Wakefield in Castleford, and I've taught, I've lost count. I'm going to say it's probably over 500 expectant parents hypnobirthing. I remember I kept count all the way up to 300, and then I'm like, maybe 400. I think about 500. So no, I do think it's just over about 500 expectant parents. Like I say, I love teaching in person here in West Yorkshire, but I do teach all over the world via Zoom, in America, Australia, yeah, pretty much everywhere. So I absolutely love what I do, and I'm not just saying that, I absolutely love it, but I also do work alongside yourself, Abby, at Love Your Birth, and again, love that as well, helping anybody who graduates with yourself. And yeah, the problem you've got, Abby, is me and you can talk about birth and hypnobirthing for a long time, so we're going to have to really make sure that we rein it in.
We are, otherwise this is going to be like a 3-hour podcast, isn't it? Oh, well, thank you so much for introducing yourself. And wow, gosh, what a long time you've been doing this, and to have taught all those expectant parents, that's incredible. I bet you're like a minor celebrity in your area.
I wish.
Isn't it funny though, when you do go places, I even have this now, and people are looking at you because they were your past client from a few years ago.
The hypnobirthing with Hannah, that's who I am. The only reason that came is one of my clients, I think I was in Asda years ago, and she was like, I've just said to my husband, is that hypnobirthing Hannah? And I was like, is that what people call me? So then that's where the name came from, because I was like, people actually know me as that lady who does hypnobirthing. So
Love that, and it's so memorable. So when going back to the very, very start, you'd quite recently had a baby yourself. What was the point where you were like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to train as a hypnobirthing teacher? What was it?
I mean, anybody who knows me, and I'm probably going a bit further back than what you want, Abby, but I'll just quickly say anybody that knows me knows that I had a really difficult pregnancy with Lucy, like really high risk, really tough, just full of anxiety. And I actually did hypnobirthing with yourself. So me and my husband came to your course to do hypnobirthing, and against all the odds, everything stacked against me, when we went on to have this incredibly empowering experience with Lucy. The birth of her, and I never thought that I would get to experience that because of how high risk the pregnancy had been. And I always remember that one of the first things I said when she was born was, I can't believe I've just done that. Like, I feel like Superwoman. And I guess it was that feeling that I just bottled, that like, I was like, if I hadn't have done hypnobirthing, like I would never have had that birth. I know that I wouldn't. And I just felt so passionate about being able to spread the word of hypnobirthing, and to just say, like, if I can do it, then you can do it too. So I just got this like bug for birth after I'd given birth to Lucy. I was like just researching everything, reading all the books, even though I'd already done it during the pregnancy. And then, yeah, when the opportunity came up with yourself to be able to train to become a hypnobirthing teacher, I was just like, I can't say no to this. And the timing, I guess, wasn't really great because Lucy was so young. She was a difficult baby as well. I don't know if you remember, Abby, she used to scream for hours on end. Like, she was a really difficult baby. And I was just like, gosh, I don't even know if the timing's right for this, but I just feel so passionate about this. Like, I just feel like I need to do it. And I've never felt like I've had a passion in life before. So I worked in engineering. I worked as a scheduler in an office full of men. And that just wasn't a passion for me. So I'd never had that feeling before of like, oh my God, I've got to tell everybody about this. And so, yeah, the timing wasn't ideal, I guess, but it worked. And I just really felt like I can't say no to this. Like, I have to do it. I've got to spread the word. But also I was thinking in my mind as well, like, oh, a little bit of extra money, you know, I've been on maternity leave, I've not got that much money. Yeah. So seeing it as a little bit of a side income as well was something that just really attracted me to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, like you said, you know, you had a job in engineering. When you were thinking about doing this, were you like, right, I'm going to do this so that I never have to go back to my engineering job? Because some people are really motivated by that. Or was it something different?
To be honest, no, it never crossed my mind that I would leave that job. It was a stable income. It was a job that I needed. So it wasn't something where I thought to myself, I am going to do the hypnobirthing and that'll be my full-time job and I'll leave engineering. You know, I'd been in that career for a long time. It took me a long time to get to the point where I was. I'd worked hard to be where I was. It was a difficult job. I'd put a lot of hours into it. I didn't love it, you know, but it was something that was stable. So, no, to be honest, it was never my intention to say I'll do the hypnobirthing in the aim of completely leaving a full-time job. I think it's important to say that I still did go back after maternity leave to 33 hours. That was Monday to Thursday. So still classed as full-time. I only had Fridays off. But no, it wasn't my intention, if I'm being honest. It was literally just a little bit of income and more for me to do something for myself after having a child, after feeling a little bit lost, for me to just go out and do something that just felt a little bit like a break, if I'm being honest, you know, like going to do something for me rather than somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love your honesty with that because, you know, it's totally okay, isn't it, to want the stability, to want the thing that you've worked hard for to continue whilst you still want to do this thing that lights a fire inside you. And it's totally okay to want the extra income as well. I mean, to cut a long story short, you know, whilst you were doing both, you created a really successful business. And as you said, you know, you've taught hundreds of expectant parents. Now, what was the reality of that? Because, you know, you had a young child, not an easy baby, you know. You had this, very time consuming day job, yet you were teaching hypnobirthing as well. How did that look? How did you balance it all?
Yeah, so, looking back now, I often think to myself, oh my God, how did you do that? Like, how could you possibly do that? But in like the actual, reality of it at the time, it didn't feel massively difficult, to be honest. Like I do honestly look back and think, you did that? Like, how did you do that? But yeah, so I used to just get up and go to work. I'd often have to get up quite early, take Lucy to my mum's or my husband's mum's, go to work, be there from, I think I used to work like 5, something like that, 4. I can't quite remember now, it was a long time ago. I would use my break time to maybe do a little bit of work, like replying to emails and things like that. And then I would come home once Lucy was in bed, or even putting her to bed, I would just sort of hop onto my phone, do a little bit there as well. And if I did work, it would be sort of setting the boundaries with my husband and saying, I'm at work tonight, I've got a client, and he would sort Lucy out and I would go there. And you would think to yourself, so you've been at work all day and then you've come home and then you've gone back out to work again teaching hypnobirthing. But honestly, it didn't feel like that. Like, it felt like a break. So I remember somebody saying, you've got 2 jobs and you've got like a really young child, like, how are you doing this? But it really didn't feel like a job. It felt like a break. It felt exciting. It felt like I was doing something that I'm really passionate about. I used to remember like the drive there to their house would be like a wind down time. I used to love the drive. And then coming home, I'd be on such a high and I'd be like buzzing. I actually fit the hypnobirthing into the sort of like the marketing and the advertising into like a couple of hours. And that actually makes me question now, what do I do with all my time in this business now? Like, I managed to do it in like 2 hours a week. Back then, like, what am I wasting all my time on these days? Like, anyway, that's a whole other thing, isn't it?
It's so true, Hannah. Like, I often have these thoughts myself. I've been in business over a decade, and throughout that time, like, my time has been really variable. There's been times where I've hardly had any time. There's been short periods where I've had quite a lot of time. But in a way, like the extra time hasn't benefited me that much. In a way, it's made me faff about, get probably more stressed because you fill it, don't you? Regardless, you fill that time, you probably put more pressure on yourself. And sometimes when you've got those smaller pockets, you're actually more productive and more focused, aren't you? Because there isn't a tomorrow to do it. There isn't, oh, I'll just do it later. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think to myself, like, it was such a simple business. Like, I didn't have lead magnets, I didn't have email marketing. There wasn't even a link in bio back then, like, head to the link in my bio. Like, there wasn't even that. But I still really made it work because I prioritised what needed to be done. Whereas, like you say, now I've got a lot more time, but I just faff about, I procrastinate, I do stuff that probably don't even need to be done. So yeah, I managed to create this like successful business. Bearing in mind, I'd never been self-employed before. I'd never run a business. And none of my family have. There's nobody in my family who runs a business of their own. So I'd managed to do it all in these short pockets of time. And then going out and teaching. So the teaching side of it wasn't an issue at all because, like I say, it just felt so easy. It felt excitable and enjoyable. And then the other side of things, I would just take like my break times at work. I'd take when Lucy was going to bed and napping, weekends, to just do little bits. But it actually wasn't sort of like I was missing out on the family. I didn't say, I can't do that with Lucy this weekend because I need to do hypnobirthing. Like, I didn't do that either. So it just worked really well. Like, I don't know, really, looking back. Maybe I've overcomplicated my business now when I'm looking back. I don't know, I'm not sure. But it still works today as well, as much as it worked 8 years ago. It's still, it's still working really well. But I think just finding little pockets of time was the biggest thing, and prioritizing what I needed to do as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've got a good point there about, maybe sometimes we overcomplicate things. We have like things we feel we should in inverted commas, should be doing, how many times we should be posting. All these things actually massively increase workload, but are they the needle movers? And then when we look back and when things were simpler and it still worked, it does make you think. So, you said there that, you'd have shorter amounts of time, so you'd prioritize. What would be your key priorities then?
I think for me, like one thing I've always done with anybody that I've worked with is try to form a relationship with my clients. And to this day, a lot of my business is based on recommendations from other people. So for me, I'd always prioritize sort of like checking in with my clients, making sure they were okay, sending them emails and text messages, asking for reviews. To this day, I still get the majority of my clients from recommendations. So it was majority about just making sure that I kept connections with clients. Other things that I would do, I did prioritize at the time, which I don't do anymore, interestingly enough. Maybe I need to think about that, is I would do in-person taster sessions as well. So people would come to my home, or I would find a venue and I'd host a taster session just to get out there, get my face seen. Like you mentioned right at the start, like when people see you in the supermarket and they're pregnant, you can see them looking at you. Like, yeah, maybe they've not been a client, but maybe they've seen one of my videos, or maybe they've read one of my blogs. So for me, it was always, and still is always, about getting my face out there. And one thing that I used to do all the time was go live on social media. I would always show my face, and it terrified me to start with, like absolutely terrified me, but I would always turn up. I think I used to do a Tuesday, I can't remember what it was. I think I used to do like a Tuesday evening, and I'd always turn up live and I'd talk about something, or I'd film something and post it like a reel is now. Reels weren't about back then, were they? It was about just being visible and just showing myself and showing my face. And I do think that I did quite a good job of that. I still try and do that now. I still try and show my face as much as I possibly can so that people know who I am, people see me and recognize me. But yeah, I remember that first time doing like a live video. Oh my God, I was sweating. And I remember thinking, just delete it, just delete it. And I was like, no. And I never did, and it got easier. So yeah, I think for me it was like creating a connection with clients that I had, people who wanted to book with me, like really taking time to connect with them, so that A, they would either book, and then B, hopefully recommend me. And then it was definitely about just showing up and just being as visible as I could. Because actually, and I still think this now, showing up on video is quicker than it is to post a picture. Like, it's quicker for me to do a reel than it is for me to go into Canva and create something else. And the impact of that as well is sort of tenfold. So I've done it for the whole of the 8 years. So yeah.
You're so right. And yeah, I totally agree. Like to get on camera and record yourself probably takes a fraction of the time of like trying to write the right sentences and think of all the grammar and all that kind of stuff. But yet the reward is tenfold because them connecting with you on that personal level, there's nothing like a video to do that, is there? And yeah, I agree, that's been so powerful in my business. Actually, a couple of podcast episodes ago, I talked about this very thing, how, those people who get using video, and not just random video, them on camera, as simple as it needs to be, are the people that will build their businesses quicker, because ultimately you're building those connections, aren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
And one thing that I've noticed about myself is that was the big foundation of my business too. And I've almost fallen off the wagon, and it's that lack of consistency that gets the fear back. You know? So even though you can have done this a long time, you're not immune from the fear coming back when you've not done it for a while. Like, video can feel really exposing, can't it? It can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm in front of everyone. What's my next door neighbour going to think? What's, all these random people going to think? When in reality, they don't care. But even those feelings can come back when you've had a bit of a break from doing that, because perhaps you've been distracted elsewhere. Like, going back to, when I got started with video, it was the easiest way to work when I had a sleeping baby in the back of the car. To press live was so more possible than any other form of work. So, yeah, I totally agree that that is such a great use of time and can really, really help build the business in the early days and beyond.
Yeah, I think as long as you get to a point where, I mean, what I do now is I film and I literally post. I very rarely do a second take. I mean, like I say, when I first started, I'd probably be on like 2 or 3 takes before. But you really do just get to a point where you think, oh, well, I just stumbled over my words, or I said the wrong thing, but you know what, I'm just going to post it. Like, you overcome that hurdle.
Yeah.
I don't look amazing, like my hair's, like, you just overcome it and you just post it, and it's so much easier than it is to sit and write a post and think, oh, have I used the wrong word? Should I have done that? So yeah, I just used to post and run, post it, run away.
Yes,
Don't think about it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because even if it looked like the most perfect video to somebody else, when it's you, you can always find something, can't you? That you could have done better, you could have said better. Why did I say this? Oh, I forgot to say that.
Yeah.
It's never going to feel perfect. So absolutely post and run.
Yeah.
It's okay. So going back to what we were talking about then, so you really prioritise the things where you were like connecting with people, getting visible, even making those in-person connections with in-person tasters. And that was, where you had the success then in getting those clients.
Yeah, definitely tasters worked really well. So in-person tasters. So I used to do them at a photography studio, and I'd even do them in my house as well. So I used to live in like a little 3-bed end terrace, and I used to do them there. Interestingly though, this is good for me, this, Abby, because we now live in a 4-bed detached with a really big living room, and I don't do tasters. I've never done one in this house, I don't think. So this is like interesting for me as well to be thinking, like maybe I need to bring some of this back into my business nowadays. But yeah, I don't know if maybe the impact of COVID as well and how we run businesses nowadays has changed the way that we do that. But yeah, I used to feel nervous doing the in-person tasters, but I used to really love doing them. And I really do think once you've got that connection, once somebody trusts you, once somebody feels like you've got knowledge that they haven't, that's when they're going to turn to you. And I think something I've always done in my business as well is be really honest and truthful and share my journey, which is not for everybody, but I've always shared like the difficult pregnancy I had with Lucy, how I felt when I was pregnant with Jake. I mean, you know me, Abby, sometimes I'm a bit too much and like share too much information, TMI, but sometimes I do really think that has been useful in creating connections as well. I've got blogs which are on my website which talk about difficult things, but it's just something that I've found useful for myself and for my clients as well.
Yeah. I mean, the absolute benefit of doing that is, when you're so vulnerable that you share even the tougher moments, it allows other people to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And ultimately, like when somebody is looking for a hypnobirthing teacher, or should I say, if I was looking for a hypnobirthing teacher, I would want someone that I felt totally at ease with saying anything to.
Yeah.
And if somebody came across as, everything's always been perfect for them and, life's just easy and pregnancy's just easy and all these kind of things, maybe I wouldn't feel as able to do that.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a really, it's probably not something that you felt was a strategy, but ultimately it's a really important strategy, isn't it? That actually like showing the realness actually allows people to think it's her I want, in comparison to other hypnobirthing teachers, because they just feel so much more connected. And that matters, doesn't it? It really matters in this day and age.
It does. And I'm not sitting here saying everybody should be vulnerable. It's a marketing technique, but that's who I am as a person anyway. I'm always open with my friends and my family, and I'm like, a problem shared is a problem halved. I'm sort of that type of person. So for me, being vulnerable came quite easy, actually. And, I've had clients book me saying, I read your blog about how you really struggled with pregnancy anxiety, and that's me. I read your blog about you don't know if you wanted another child because you had such a difficult time first. People have come to me and said, I want to come to you because I'm feeling the same way that you felt. So being vulnerable, like you say, never was a strategy. It wasn't sort of like, oh, I'll say this and people will book me. It was just, it's just who I am. You know me, Abby, like stuff I share with you. Like I talk about things that maybe other people won't talk about, but that's just who I am. And then I put that into my business right from the start. So I always have talked about how I felt during Lucy's pregnancy and how I never enjoyed pregnancy. I actually really hated it. And I know that not a lot of people will talk about how they hate pregnancy. Like for me, it was one of the worst times. And I spoke about that, and then people were like, oh my God, I feel like that too. But I've never thought I could say it out loud because it's a time when you should be feeling so grateful. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I was grateful, but I also absolutely hated it. So again, maybe that was another thing that I've done over the years without knowing that I've done it, that has actually helped me to get some amazing clients who have actually gone on to be really good friends as well.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? Like when someone is really like connected to you, the chances are like you're going to be really connected to them back. And you can meet some of the most amazing people. Some of my best friends today were hypnobirthing clients, and sometimes I even forget that. I forget that actually I met them because they came on my group hypnobirthing course 10 years ago, and now we're best friends. It's crazy, isn't it? But going back to this vulnerability, because I've had a few questions about that actually, because you know that I'm a bit of an oversharer on this podcast, for example, and a lot of people will say, it really inspires me how vulnerable you are. And I suppose it's not a conscious decision, is it? Like you've just said. But I definitely think there's a line, isn't there? Like we've talked about this, Hannah, haven't we? Where people can think they're being vulnerable, but actually maybe sometimes it's a bit like, that might be a bit too much, and they're almost forgetting their role that they are in. I'll give you an example. Like I've definitely seen people who have pretty much all the marketing focused on how they're feeling that day, and it's almost like a vehicle for their emotions. And I'm not saying, please don't cancel me for this, everyone listening. I'm going to get cancelled, Hannah. And I'm not saying like that is, that's not right. I'm not saying that. Like it's your business, it's your rules, you do you, absolutely. But I definitely think some potential clients might think, gosh, she's a bit of a moaner. Or, gosh, like, nothing's ever right for her. You know what I mean? What do you think of that? Do you think there is a line?
The amount of stuff I could come on Instagram and be like, oh, this has happened today. And, but I always have in mind, is this going to benefit somebody? Like, me oversharing benefits somebody, then perfect, I'll overshare it, But is it gonna benefit them, or is it gonna benefit me as well? By me oversharing this and talking about, like what a crappy day I've had or whatever it might be. So yeah, I do definitely think that there is a line. I am quite professional in my business to an extent as well. Like I don't swear on my social media, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but I definitely have a line that I would draw as to how much I would share. And I always just go with, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been times where I've started it and then I've thought, do people need to know that? And I'm like, no. So then I'll delete it. Yeah, I think you do just need to find that line as to what is going to be beneficial for potential clients or for somebody who's pregnant, and what's going to be beneficial for your business as well. And just ask yourself that question before you actually do post something. However, if it is in line with your business and who you are, then absolutely go for it. We're all different. We've all got different sort of like vibes with our business, haven't we? But yeah, for me, it is being vulnerable to a certain extent and making sure that it's relatable to birth as well.
I think that's the key point there. Like, is it benefiting your audience? Like you choosing to share about the difficulties you experienced in pregnancy absolutely benefit your audience because they're going through that right now. You coming on and being like, my husband does
I mean, I could do that, don't get me wrong.
Me too. Absolutely. That might not be as relevant, but yeah, sharing the things that are relatable, that are making a point as well. Like, for example, you had a really challenging pregnancy and you went on and had a great birth. Like, there's a point to that, isn't there? You're saying, like, this is what happened. You're not saying it just to mourn. You're saying it because you want the message to be, I'm assuming, you want the message to be like, even if you are labelled high risk, even if you thrown a lot of curveballs, it doesn't mean that there's no point preparing for a great birth,
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. That's the whole point, is that you can be high risk and have a great birth. And like I talk about in depth what happened with Lucy and that pregnancy, and not knowing if she was going to be all right when she was born, like how horrible it was. But without the hypnobirthing, I know for a fact that wouldn't have gone the way that it did, and the impact that would have had on, on everybody's lives. I even go as far as saying that, I ended up having therapy to fall pregnant with Jake, because of how difficult that pregnancy had been with Lucy. So like I massively opened up there. I'm talking about having therapy to deal with what happened with Lucy and that pregnancy. But again, it's relatable because I'm saying, like, these feelings don't go away. Like having a traumatic birth doesn't go away. Like the impact that it's had on my life has been huge. And like, I don't want that to happen to anybody else. So if you can think about investing in hypnobirthing now, like that can have such an impact on your life. I don't want what happened to me to happen to you. So there is always, I'm really opening up there talking about having therapy, but I'm doing it for a reason, to say, thank God I found hypnobirthing and didn't also have a traumatic birth. I had a traumatic pregnancy, but I had a great birth as well. And this is the power of hypnobirthing, and this is why I think it can help you too. I think as long as you've always got a reason as to what you're talking about, then I think it's, it's fine to go down that route if you're happy to go down that route as well. I think that's real. Don't just listen to this and be like, oh, Hannah was vulnerable, I need to go talk about me having therapy or what. Like if that's not you and that doesn't feel right for you and that's opening a can of worms, like don't do that. It has to be what you feel is right for you and your business.
Exactly, because, we're all different, aren't we, in what we will share, even with our friends, even with our family, never mind, on maybe what could be considered quite a public platform. So it has got to feel comfortable, hasn't it? I once heard someone say, let me get this right. Share your scars not your wounds.
Yes.
And I thought, yeah, that makes sense. Like a wound is something that's just happened. It's still hurting. It's, you're trying to get it better. A scar is like, I've been through that. I've got, the evidence of it, but actually it's not hurting me anymore. And I guess it's that position, isn't it, that is sometimes more comfortable talking about the things.
Oh God, yeah. Like if I think about Lucy's pregnancy, like I didn't even tell my friends how bad it was at the time. Like I couldn't even talk about it at the time. It's only like afterwards, that I was able to do that. So yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice is, please don't listen to me talking about this and think you have to do that if it doesn't feel right for you and your business. I think it's in retrospect, isn't it, that you can sometimes talk about things. Is that the right word? Like looking
Absolutely,
back, that you can talk about certain things. And don't get me wrong, there's other ways as well to market businesses and to do well in business, not just about being vulnerable. Like I say, I've always developed good connections, strong connections with my clients. Like even my last group course I had, I'm always trying my best to develop them connections because I know that word of mouth is so powerful. So I'm not just sat here, crying and talking about therapy as my main marketing tool. Like I'm doing other things as well,
Yeah.
and I always have done other things as well. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are someone that is so passionate about supporting others to have a great birth, perhaps becoming a hypnobirthing teacher might be the right path for you. From the 18th of May, I'm offering a completely free training that takes place over 3 sessions of 1 hour, where you can find out whether teaching hypnobirthing is for you. You will learn in-demand skills. You will explore how to make money as a hypnobirthing teacher, how to be great at what you do in this completely free training. To enroll, all you need to do is go to the link in the show notes or come over to my Instagram and DM me the word free training. I hope to see you there. So, you taught hypnobirthing alongside your day job, and your intention was not to quit that job in engineering, was it? But at a point you did. So what was it that made you make that really big decision?
Well, I think like anybody else who make big decisions in their lives, COVID had a lot to play in that. I am not a risk taker at all in any shape or form. Having a stable income was great for me. It suited me. I didn't want to leave that. Never was my intention. Like I say, I've never been self-employed before. It was a huge thing for me to say, I'm actually going to quit this job in engineering and I'm just going to go do hypnobirthing full time. And I actually do really have to thank COVID for that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but without without lockdown happening, like I would never have done that. I don't think I'd still be in that job to this day. Like I say, I worked hard to be where I was in that job. It was not an easy job. I'd done a lot of training, a lot of courses. And for me, it just felt like giving up something that I'd achieved. So yeah, it was literally in the middle of lockdown. I had Lucy at home. And I just remembered thinking, I wasn't working from home originally. They wouldn't allow me to do it. I had to go into the office. I had to find childcare. I remember one day saying, I've got nobody to look after her. She can't go to nursery. My mum's vulnerable. Like, I've got nobody. And they said, well, you'll have to sort something out. And I just went, or should I just leave her at home then? Like, on her own? Because my husband's a key worker. Like, what do you want me to do? And it was then that I was like, why am I doing this when I've already got something that I love so much? And I think the problem here is when you're doing something that you really love, everything else seems to sort of like start falling down the scale. And the job that I didn't mind so much, I never loved it, but the job that I didn't mind so much started becoming less and less appealing to me because suddenly I had this thing that I was doing that was incredible, but also bringing me money in. It was like, it was bringing me more money in per hour than what I was bringing in the engineering job. So I think I just had this realization, and also a bit of no option than to quit that job as well, essentially. I had no childcare. But yeah, I was just like, is it the worst time to quit your job, or is it the best time to quit your job? I don't know. But I thought, do you know what? If I'm not going to do it now, when am I ever going to do it? So I did, literally in the middle of lockdown. I was just like, I'm not coming back. Like, and I just quit. And yeah, then a bit of reality hit. I was like, what have I done? Oh my God. But I thought, no, do you know what? If I can make it successful doing 2 hours a week, what could it be doing 30, even 20 hours a week? Like, I don't have to replace it as being a full-time job, you know? Like, what can I do even if I do 10 hours a week or 15 or 20 hours a week? Like, how successful can I make it then? So yes, never was my intentions, but to this day, one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Oh, I'm so glad you did it. Like, I know it wasn't your intention, but I can see how it's enabled you to even throw more of you into hypnobirthing, you know, and really embody hypnobirthing, Hannah.
I mean, I didn't even have a website. I didn't have a website or anything like that, and I learned how to build a website on my own. And I actually really loved doing all that side of things, like building my own website and like really just cracking on with the social media and making connections with other businesses in the community. Like, it just gave me time to do more that I couldn't do, like lead magnets and email lists. Like, I never had done that before. And don't get me wrong, that has brought me more clients in by doing them things. But yeah, I still think to myself, like, you're the type of person who is so risk averse. Like, you don't, like, how did you do it? Like, I feel like it was a different person that made them decisions to do that, because I am somebody who is just a comfortable life, you know, like, quite, you know, like, just get on with things. But yeah, I did it, and I am really pleased that I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I did.
I think you're so right though with the COVID thing. Like, there's something about almost like taking time out of the world, you know, because everything was different for that time. And a little bit like for some women, maternity leave feels like that. Like, their life shifted and it allows you to connect with what you want more and how you want your life to be, and you know, you've got the headspace a bit more, even though there were, you know, I'm not, you know, I don't want it to happen again, guys. I don't want another lockdown, but there were definitely like certain things lifted off our shoulders. The busyness of life had slowed down, which just allowed a bit more headspace. And sometimes we need that to make bold decisions.
I think as well, I turned 30 in COVID as well. So it was my 30th birthday in 2020. And I think, like, reflecting back as well and being like, I've done this job for like however many years. Like, do I want to do it for like another 20 years where I just go to work in the same office every day, planning these same machines with all these middle-aged men? Like, do I want to do that for like another 10 or 20 years? Or do I want to be making a difference in people's lives, like making an impact and getting messages where people are like, Hannah, I did it, and like, you were in my ears the whole way through, like, I couldn't have done it without you. Like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And even if I don't make as much money, like, you know, long term, like, if I'm doing something that I love, I honestly can say, like, doing something that you love, like, you feel so grateful. Because how many people go to work every day and think, oh my God, I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I still do that now. 8 years, like 8 years, like, I still do that now. I'm like, oh, I'm really excited to meet this new couple. I wonder what type of birthday they're going to be planning. You know, so yeah, I think just turning 30 in COVID, just a bit of reality hit. So
Yeah. Time of reflection of what you want. Yeah, totally hear you on that. So anybody that's listening that's maybe thinking about starting a hypnobirthing business or a baby business alongside a like day job in inverted commas, like, what would your tips be for like managing it all?
yeah. I think initially I saw it as a hobby, so I think that took the pressure off of it. So if you are somebody who's already got a steady income, just treat it like a hobby to start with and just see how it goes. Like, just do something for yourself, treat it as a passion. Like, if you do get clients, like, yay, that's an extra little bit of money. But when you don't necessarily need that money, the pressure is taken off of you, and just enjoy it. Just enjoy the teaching, enjoy the learning, enjoy doing something for yourself. And then eventually, if it does turn into more, like I say, prioritizing, finding out for you what feels easy. So do things with ease. I think that's my biggest thing, like, don't sit there for hours making posts for Instagram if that doesn't feel easy. Do something that just fits in with your life, whatever that might be, whether that's reaching out to other businesses, whether that's writing a blog, or, for me, I love writing blogs. Like, I absolutely love writing blogs. So I still do that now because I find it easy. I find it something that I enjoy doing. So just lean into the things that come with ease. Just find little pockets of time, and also make sure that your family know as well that if your intentions are to make money from this, that you need their support as well in terms of time. So, what time can your family give you and allocate for you to be able to work on your business, even if that's just a couple of hours a week, like it was for me. Anything else? Oh, I don't know.
Going back to what you said about family members, like, that is so right, as in, not only that you've got that time, but that they respect it and that they see it as not time for you, not like time to pamper yourself. It's not. It's valid work time for the family. And yeah, like, one thing that I've learned, I don't know whether you resonate, Hannah, but the people who didn't respect my work time, it wasn't really their fault, It was more that I wasn't talking about it as being important. I was almost like, the way I was describing doing work on my business was like it was like a little optional extra, and of course people like mirrored that, and they'd treat it like that, and they'd be like, oh, what are you up to today? When I had a bit of childcare, as if I was just gallivanting and going to a spa, when actually I had work, and it being business doesn't mean it's any less important than if I was in a 9 to 5. So yeah, like, the thing I'd add there to what you say is, like, the way you talk about it matters. Like, people will absorb that, and that will be the respect they have for your work too.
Yeah, like, I used to say, like, am I okay to just go do a social media post upstairs? Instead of being like, oh, I'm spending an hour on my business now. Like, like, am I okay? No, like, I am. That's what I'm doing. It's like just making sure you've got them boundaries in place and making sure that they're, and it is you, isn't it? Like, I do think that, like, it's the way that it comes across from you. So just making sure that they respect and appreciate that you need that time to work on a business.
Absolutely. And I think I can see why we do speak about it like that, and like, is it all right? Oh, I could do with just doing this, because like you said, like, this feels so good, like, it feels so fun. You're not like, I've got to do this. So, because it doesn't feel like a chore. So I can see why we kind of speak about it so softly, but even if it feels fun, we've got to present it as important. Otherwise, everybody else will mirror that.
Definitely, absolutely. Yeah, and that's something I do now. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I'm working on my hypnobirthing business now. Like, I'm doing this. But I think, back then it used to just like, is it okay? And like, I don't know if it's just that feminine energy that was coming through of like feeling like I need to ask, but I definitely don't do that now. I'm like, right, I'm working on my business now. Which is a lot easier because obviously I've got more hours through the day to do it. But yeah, that's one thing that I would definitely recommend that people do.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, well, thank you so much, Hannah. It's been so lovely to watch your business and you blossom and grow over the last few years. So thank you for coming along. Do you want to let people know where they can find you in case they would like to have a look at your wonderful business and what you're up to?
Yes, but I will say I don't practice what I preach. So if you're looking at my business, you might be like, oh, she's not got that there. She's not done this. So yeah, I am on Instagram, hypnobirthing_Hannah, and my website is hypnobirthingwithhannah.co.uk. I'd probably head to my website more than my Instagram. I spend a lot more time on there than I do on my social media. But also just want to say to yourself as well, I'd be like, I wouldn't be in this position without you and your guidance and everything that you've done. And she's not paying me to say this. Like all the guidance that you've given me over the 8 years, like all the incredible resources that we've got at Love Your Birth, you know, all of the training videos that we've got, like I would never be where I am today if it hadn't have been for you as well. So yeah, thank you to you.
Oh, that's so nice. And going back to when you said, you know, you don't practice what you preach, like this is the reality of it though, of being established and having those word of mouth recommendations, like the kind of like hustle we have to do early on. It doesn't necessarily stay throughout, does it?
That is true. Like all the work that I've put in over the years, you know, like I mentioned my website there's so many blogs on that website that are still being read all over the world today. Like I wrote them years ago.
Yeah.
And so I say I'm not practicing what I preach, but is that not just because of the fact that I've done the work? I still get clients. I still get a good amount of clients. And that, yeah, it is because A, word of mouth, and B, because of the work that I have put in prior to what I do now.
That's the goal ultimately, isn't it? To be doing bits of marketing that are not just benefiting you in the here and now, that are actually, like you said, still going to be read, still going to influence people's decision to book with you 3 years down the line, rather than this whole like in the moment hustle that so many people can get focused on, because that's what's maybe worked for them really early on.
Yeah.
But actually as we grow, like things, we've built that awareness and we've built that backlog of stuff too.
Which is why I blog, which is, I'd always say at the start of blogging, it's there forever. You know, an Instagram post is not there forever, is it?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So true. Oh, well, thank you again, Hannah. It's been lovely to have you on the podcast. And thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you found Hannah's story really inspiring. And I hope, regardless of whether you're doing this alongside anything else, you've taken some really great tips from someone who has been there and done it. So have a wonderful rest of your week, and I shall speak to you soon. Keep on changing lives. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Rockabye Revenue. I hope this episode has left you with some fresh ideas and bundles of motivation. If you enjoyed this episode, do make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an installment. And if you found this episode useful, I'd love you forever if you leave a 5-star review, helping this podcast reach the ears of more of the helpers in this world. And remember, keep changing lives. See you next time.